So Vietnam was a tremendous defeat, right? And yes, this most certainly demoralized Americans. And what did the Americans do? They abolished the draft. However, they made sure to keep the poor draft, right? So there's no free college, there's no healthcare, and then they come and scam people basically into joining the military, right? They advertise healthcare or free college as a perk of joining the military. And that's how they dupe people to come join the military. They also promise them cash. I think... Again, don't quote me on this, but I think they promised them like $10,000, and it turns out you only get half at the beginning and then another half after 2 years. You know, there are various schemes. This is my point. There are various schemes to get people into the military. And so you would think after Vietnam, well, who the hell is going to go fight another war? And so the U.S. fixed this. They abolished the draft, but they kept the poor draft so they could still recruit. And what they did with journalism, because, you know, the fact that you had people covering the Vietnam War, it was the first televised war, was very bad, right? Because it helped promote the anti-war movement. It helped show the war crimes and so on. And what they did to remedy this is when the Iraq war started, what happened in Iraq? They didn't just let journalists go to Iraq and cover it. No. You had to be embedded, right? So they would put the journalists with the troops. And of course, this creates a lot of pressure on the journalists because you're embedded with this platoon or this squad or whatever. You can't talk shit about them because you're sleeping with them, you're walking with them, you're eating with them. You are embedded with this unit. So it becomes very difficult to antagonize and well, not antagonize, just to report the truth, right? And that's not to say that every single unit is committing war crimes, but I mean, thank God there were some journalists who actually reported accurately. But, you know, still, my point is that it makes doing journalism very difficult because you are embedded with these troops. And, you know, you just look at the coverage in the Iraq War. Before it started, you had CNN, Washington Post, New York Times, BBC, ITV, Sky News. Every single goddamn outlet in the world was banging the war drums and saying, look, there's weapons of mass destruction. There's a link to Al-Qaeda. So even before the war starts, they are not... You know, they're not scrutinizing the government. They're helping them. They're helping them achieve the war. So they do this by amplifying threats. Do you understand? So even if people were demoralized by previous conflicts, they come up with threats to make you forget that and to convince you that the war is justified, right? And as we know, these threats were bullshit. There were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. There was no link between Al-Qaeda and Iraq. The Taliban offered to hand over Osama bin Laden to a third country. The U.S. refused, right? The whatever elements of Al-Qaeda existed were funded and created by the United States. They turned a blind eye to Saudi Arabia. Like, these wars were avoidable, completely, utterly avoidable. And the way that they got away with them, and they're still trying to get away with them, is by amplifying the threats. So even right now, they're still saying, look, if we leave Afghanistan, Al-Qaeda is going to come back. Al-Qaeda. So that's how they do it. They fearmonger. They bullshit you. And they get even rational, unfortunately, sometimes even rational people to believe this shit. So it's very unfortunate. And it's very rare to find people with a backbone, and, you know, especially in politics. And again, they do the same thing with Syria, right? Like, how are they convincing people to accept a war in Syria? They just make up shit, like the gas attack in Douma, and the other one in Ghouta. Like, there's a gas attack the day that UN inspectors arrive. Like, dude, if the things they're saying are true, like, this would make the Syrian army the dumbest army in history. But it's not fucking true, because no one would do this. No one in the right mind would ever do this. The Syrian army has defeated Al-Qaeda. The Syrian army did not use chemical weapons because the US destroyed their chemical weapons stockpile with Russia and the OPCW in 2013. So either the United States did not do its job and lied about destroying Syria's chemical weapons, or they're fucking incompetent. And they cannot prove these things. We have documents. We have evidence showing that these things did not happen. We have documents and evidence showing that the WMDs were fake. So they always lie. They create these threats. So there's no such thing as being demoralized, unfortunately, right? They will always come up with new threats and new justifications to you know, satisfy any public outcry. And of course, you know, if you open your mouth, then, oh, you're a Ba'athist. Oh, you're a Saddam supporter. Oh, you're a Taliban. Oh, you're an Assad, blah, blah, blah. What a fucking meathead you have to be to say this shit. Honestly, how can you look at what happened in Iraq and still not get it through your thick fucking dumbass skull that these people are liars? They lie to go and start wars. How fucking dumb can you be? You should be fucking ashamed. I mean, you should go and just shut the fuck up and lock yourself in a closet until you get this WMD and this gas attack and this CIA bullshit out of your skull. How embarrassing. How goddamn embarrassing, honestly. They're so happy to repeat anything that comes out of the State Department or Whitehall. Oh yeah, look, this dictator bad. Dictator bad. Quick, we have to go bomb. Oh, you meatheads. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question.